Welcome, everybody. I am so glad that you're here. My guest today is a four-time New York Times bestselling author. She is a celebrity nutrition and fitness expert, and she's here with me today, JJ Virgin. Thank you so much for being here.
Good to be here with you, Shemane.
Well, tell me wherever you want to start. I know we have just a short amount of time, a tiny little bit of background about why you're so interested in healthy living.
Well, because there's nothing really more important than that. And clearly the last year has shown us that, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So,
Absolutely. So, what are some tips and tricks that you can share with people about healthy aging, mind, body, and spirit?
oh my gosh. All right. Well, this is a subject near and dear to my 57-year-old heart, obviously. And, I think all of this stuff, whether you're looking at healthy aging, losing weight, more energy, getting out of pain, the very first place that you always have to start is with that decision that your self-care matters, and it matters more than anything else to you. And I think so often we kind of put ourselves at the last of the to-do list and get so busy doing other things. And we really have to prioritize our eating, our sleep, our exercise, all of those things that are key critical to, and it's really funny, Shemane, because when you think about it, the same things that basically help you reverse aging are the same things that help you lose weight, are the same things that help you reduce pain, are the same things that help increase your energy. Where I think people get tripped up is they try to do all of these things at once. And that's never more obvious than right now at the beginning of the year when people have all these great intentions, too many great intentions. And instead of trying to change where they're at over time, they try to make all these crazy changes overnight. And then, of course, it doesn't work. And then they beat themselves up and then they're back to square one.
Yeah, well, I totally agree with that. And I'm wondering if you've experienced this with the people that you work with, your clientele, because I'm feeling this as I'm 58 and as a mom, I'm busy, you're busy, we're all busy. And it feels like oftentimes women are the first ones to put their needs on the back burner and to help everybody else. But it's like the flight attendant says, put the mask on yourself first before helping other people. What can you say to women, busy moms especially, to help them refocus and recenter that on themselves?
So it's really interesting because if you really want to show up, let's say that you're the typical woman nowadays who's got a family, partner, is working. So you've got multiple jobs because you're working now in the house and then on the house, right? Um, it's more important than ever that you have to take care of your health, because if you take care, you can't show up for anything else. I don't know where it ever got to be that martyr syndrome was celebrated, but for me, I think you have a responsibility to put your health and self-care first, because you're no good to anybody else if you aren't healthy.
Absolutely. That's what I've always been telling people. And I've been teaching group fitness classes since 1980, and I know you have too. And I'm fortunate because I enjoy working out, but I've made it even more of my daily routine. I work out about 6 days a week, maybe seven, but I don't go all out. I've learned that this 58-year-old body, sometimes I have to back it down a little bit. Do you find that you do, or do you still hit the gym hard?
I have 4 different areas in fitness that I focus on. And I think this kind of helps you stay in balance, because we can't push it the way we used to. And in fact, I don't even know if the way you used to was such a good thing to do either. I look at some of the things I did before and I'm like, probably would be a little bit better with my joints if I hadn't decided I thought it was so important to run hours a day. But the first thing that I think is that we just flat out need to move more. And that's where tracking devices like an Oura Ring or a Fitbit or an Apple Watch come in great. And that's where having a needy dog works awesome, right? I loved during the pandemic, so many people were adopting dogs because you have to take them out.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing, is just flat out move more. And then the next thing is to do some high intensity interval training. But the thing is, that's high intensity for where you're at. And that just means pushing a bit more than is comfortable. And let's face it, in anything in life, if you want to get better at it, you have to get uncomfortable. But it doesn't mean do that for a long period of time. My interval training, I did some this morning, it's generally about 20 minutes, about 8 big bursts, right? And then resistance training. I think if I was going to pick any single thing for the most important thing for us as we age, it's resistance training, because if you don't use it, you lose it. And bone density is super important, and that's what keeps it going. And then some flexibility and restorative work like yoga. It took me a long time to finally get into yoga, but what a difference that has made.
Yeah, absolutely. My son is a yoga instructor. When he was in high school, he played sports and he was bulkier. And then in his 20s, he started doing yoga more and he's slimmed down. And I'm just people say, oh, I don't have that kind of flexibility. You can get it, girlfriend. Don't you think so? If you
Well, but here's the
practice.
secret. This is the secret to yoga classes. And because I always avoided them because I was so bad. I was like, I'm not going in there. This is like humiliating. And then what I discovered is all you need to do is go to a yoga class full of men, especially older men. They tend to be, there's always going to be that one hotshot younger guy who's like got his, like, can do full splits, like my son, who's a tricker. But older men, you know, that's an easy way to go in a yoga class and not feel like you're going to just completely, like, if you, like, I think the first time I took a yoga class was with Kathy Smith, and it was full of all these 20-year-olds. And I'm like, oh, brother, like, what am I doing? Like, literally, like, standing on one hand with their leg behind their head. And I'm like, get me the heck out of here right now.
It's very daunting. And even when we go to the gym, whether it's a yoga class or Zumba or whatever it is, or lifting weights, it's really daunting for people to get involved in even going to the gym or working out from home, which has become really popular. I've had people say to me, well, I got to get in shape before I come to your Zumba class. No, that's not the point. We welcome everybody.
Yes. And, you know, a great way to start is just to have a trainer take you through it. It doesn't mean you have to have a trainer every single time. Have a trainer take you through it. Or, gosh, I love these new things. Like, I just got a Peloton. I don't know what took me so long.
Me too.
Best thing ever. And I thought, I am not going to like this. I cannot believe how competitive I am on that bike. It's ridiculous.
Yes, I trained with Johnny G, the guy who created spinning. So I've been spinning for a long, long time, for about 30 years. And I thought, okay, I can do Peloton. I can do this. And I looked at the numbers, my first class, and I'm like, surely I'm not ranked 35,000. Like, that can't be true. So then I saw, okay, well, you can go to your age range and even your gender. And I'm like, okay, it's not so bad now.
Yeah, I know. That was pretty humbling, because I'm like, I'm in great shape. What the heck just happened here? So, and I'm also convinced people game that system. I'm like, they are not following the recommendations that this teacher is saying.
It's a good idea, I feel, to have at least one hard workout per week or every other week. Go for it. Have that motivation, have that challenge, have that group activity to keep you motivated. But so let's talk about diet, because that's a huge part of aging and energy. A lot of people have said, "Oh, I want your energy. How do I get your energy?" What do you do?
So it's interesting. Like, when you look at how do you stay healthy and what do you need to do for aging, I think sleep is probably the single most important. And then it's kind of, you know, for losing weight, diet clearly is the first piece. But for aging, I'd have to say exercise is probably the more important piece. For diet, my biggest dream is that we can figure out another word, that we think of the word diet as something that you do short-term, therapeutically, to make a shift, to learn something about yourself. And then you have the way that you eat. And when you go on a diet, you learn things, you figure out what works, and you take that into your eating program, and that you cycle through that. What I really think, some of the key things I think that are super important in diet, is to first add before you take away. So before you start looking at all the stuff you shouldn't eat, start working on the things you should be eating, like more deep green leafies, like just more non-starchy vegetables in general, like more fiber, like good healthy fats, clean protein, more water. So that's the first thing, and really making sure you're eating that trifecta for satiety and blood sugar balance of protein, fat, and fiber. Then Then I think you should figure out your hidden food intolerances, figure out which foods work for you and which foods don't. That's what I wrote about in the Virgin Diet. And I'm doing Virgin Diet 2.0 for the 10-year anniversary. Then, and along with that, as you're doing that, you're detoxifying. And that really needs to be put into place before you really start to focus on any kind of fat loss, because we store toxins in our fat. So if you're not a good detoxifier and you're now freeing up fat, you're freeing up toxins. And if you're not able to get them out, you've just created a problem for yourself. So then along with that, food intolerances, a lot of what you're doing there is healing your gut and eating more healing foods. Once you've done that, the next place to go is to really, really dial in your sugar and carbs. And of course, all carbs except fiber turn to sugar, right? So you want to make sure you're making sugar slowly from the food you eat, not mainlining it. And for aging, like that is the single worst thing that you can do, is eat a lot of quick sugar foods. But that's where, when you really dial that in, you start to work on meal timing, you get rid of snacking, you work the 12-hour fast with at least 3 to 4 hours before bed, stopping eating. And then you work into some intermittent fasting cycles, and maybe a 24-hour fasting cycle can do amazing things for longevity and stem cell production and immune enhancement.
And when you talk about detoxifying, sweat is the number one most important thing. What are some other ways that we can just detoxify our bodies?
So sweat is super duper duper important. And if you are one of those people who's not a good sweater, consider an infrared sauna. I have a sunlight and sauna at home. I love it. And consider one of those that really helps penetrate deep and helps to get you sweating. So that's one thing. Although I dare anyone to try to not sweat on a Peloton. Like, oh my gosh.
I know, right?
I was like, it's so hard, because I go, gosh, I just had my hair blown out, and now it's a balance, man. So sweating, of course, is super important, which means you better be drinking a lot of pure spring water, so that you have the water to create the sweat. Next up is fiber. Fiber is so important here. Number one, it can soak up the toxins and then also help you eliminate them, because we're going to eliminate through our poop and our pee and our sweat. So you want to be a good pooper, super duper important. Making sure that you've got good protein that you're digesting on board. As you age, your digestive enzymes go down. A lot of us need to be taking enzymes, especially for fat and protein, like betaine and lipase. And you can kind of tell, like if you feel bloated after you eat, think betaine, or you have any kind of GERD, or if you've got like oily stools, think lipase. And I think everybody should just do a trial on that. But you need protein to grab a hold of these toxins when they get freed up and get them out of the body. Protein is essential. That's why I think like a juice fast is actually really problematic. Now, these deep green leafies and the antioxidants from plants are amazing for detoxifying and for freeing up those toxins. But again, you have to have the proteins to pull them out. So they all work together. But deep greens can be amazing for that, and especially things like cilantro, chlorella, to help chelate some of the heavy metals out as well. And then Epsom salts baths.
Yeah.
Such a good one. I do one every single night.
Me too.
Right? Oh my gosh.
Epsom salt with lavender essential oil in it.
Yes. So yummy. So that is a biggie. And then having a lot of plants around the house, getting outside. I'm lucky I live in Florida on the water. I walk outside and get into the dirt, getting out into the green, getting into clean, fresh air, and making sure that you're not retoxifying yourself with the food you eat, what you're drinking, the air you're breathing, the things you're putting on. So be super clean with everything that you're using.
So what would you recommend for mindset to get people motivated to start a healthy lifestyle, even though let's say they're 58, they're 57, our age, and they've never really worked out before? How do you recommend people get that? I think that's the number one problem, is they lack motivation oftentimes.
So it's so interesting. You know, Jim Rohn, gosh, decades ago said, you are the average you hang out of the 5 people you hang out with. And he was talking in terms of income, but then those studies started to show that obesity was contagious, and that you are the average of the people that you hang out with. And even if your friends are across the country, your closest friends and relatives, that if they were overweight, you tended to be overweight. So my advice always is to find fitter friends.
Ah,
you know?
and yeah,
Right? Because think about
absolutely.
it. I look at my buddies and, we all like we had a New Year's Day event. People were over paddleboarding and swimming and everyone was eating healthy. I mean, so if you're around healthy people, guess what? You get healthier.
Yeah, my husband likes to have Ruffles potato chips in the house by the TV, and it's so true. You can't just have one.
Wow.
And it's hard, he eats really good most of the time, but he's a little bit of a snacker at late night snacking, and that's
Mm.
been a tough one. So, how do you prevent that other than saying, I got this little box and I put it on our ottoman, and I cover up the Ruffles in there so I can't see it.
Yeah, I would get like a coated lockbox.
There you go.
I mean, it's like I always think it's just like if you are giving candy for Halloween, buy the stuff you hate,
Good point.
right?
Good
I mean, do
point.
not
Yeah.
get some like deliciousness. I got all of these different dark chocolate ones this year, so it can be done that are okay. But, you know, it's like don't bring the enemy in the house.
That's true.
It's just
Start
mean.
shopping before, make smart choices before you bring it into the home. I mean,
Well,
if
just
you're
shop online. Then you never get, shopping online solves so many problems because you don't go to the store and all of a sudden you're like seeing all this stuff. You're like, oh gosh, of course I need this coconut
right.
whipped cream that I don't need, you
Yeah,
know?
absolutely. JJ, it's just been a pleasure having you on and an honor. How can people find you?
jjvirgin.com.
And tell us a
Easy.
little bit about your books that you've written and you are writing.
So I started with the Virgin Diet and then I got the cookbook because, of course, we were like, back then when I wrote the Virgin Diet, that was not as easy to find gluten-free, dairy-free, corn-free, soy-free, peanut-free foods that were low sugar impact. Now it's so much easier. So we have a cookbook that goes along with it. And then the biggest question I asked after I wrote the Virgin Diet was about sugar. So then I wrote the Sugar Impact Diet to really help you uncover the sugar sneaking into your diet and get rid of those sugar cravings forever. And it's really the perfect precursor if you are considering doing a keto diet, if you're considering intermittent fasting, because it moves your body from being a sugar burner where you have to snack and eat every couple hours and never miss a meal to being a fat burner where you actually forget, like you go, did I eat lunch? And you can easily burn off the belly fat. That's kind of a test if you're able to be a fat burner, is you actually forget to eat and you can easily burn off belly fat. And then again, the Sugar Impact Diet cookbook, because that was the logical next one. And then I did a little bit of what looks like a sidetrack. However, mindset underlies every single thing we do. It's really to determine if you're going to be successful or not. So then I wrote Warrior Mom. That was about what happened while I was publishing the Virgin Diet. Was my son was in a near-death car accident, and I published that book bedside with him in a coma. And kind of that mindset that you need, where I prioritized my self-care, did what I needed to do so I could make sure that my son not only got through that accident, but was better than before the accident, which I'm happy to say 8 years later, he is, but it was quite a battle to get there. So those are the books, and we're going to do Virgin. I say we because it takes a village to do a book. This is not like me sitting here by myself. This is me working with a team to produce cool new recipes and, updating the whole thing. I have some really cool stuff coming out in the Virgin Diet 2.0, but that is 2 years. It's next November 2022. Wow. I know that's how long. And that's the other things people will tell you like 3 weeks before it's pubbing. Hey, can you add? And I'm like, maybe last year.
Yeah.
These things take so long.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate your honesty and all the information, and God bless you, and stay strong and healthy and happy, because the world needs more people like you to inspire us and motivate us.
Well, thank you. And I hope we get to see each other in Dallas and our mutual friend.
Yes, I would love that.
Yes.
I would love that. All right. Thanks so much, JJ. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.